Welcome back to The Explainer, everyone. Today, we're diving into what is honestly the hidden engine room of profitability for pretty much any company that makes or moves physical products. We're talking about materials management. I know it might not sound glamorous at first, but I am so excited to get into this with you because it's absolutely fascinating how much power this one single department holds over a company's success. Let's jump right in.
To really wrap our heads around that power, consider this number. In most manufacturing organizations, materials make up, on average, 50 to 60% of the total cost of production. Just think about that for a second. If it costs $100 to produce an item, $60 of that is tied up literally just in materials. It's the largest single expenditure by a mile. So when you're managing that massive piece of the pie, even the tiniest tweaks can send huge ripples right to the bottom line.
So, here's our roadmap for today's Explainer. We'll cover what materials management actually is, its scope and objectives, why it matters, how it integrates with other core functions, and then we'll wrap it all up with a quick summary.
Number 1. What is materials management? Defining the core.
Now, there's this definition from the International Federation of Purchasing and Materials Management, and it's fantastic. They call it a total concept unifying into a single responsibility the systematic flow and control of material from identification of the need through customer delivery. Okay, kind of a mouthful, but notice the phrases single responsibility and systematic flow. Materials management isn't just, someone sitting in a warehouse counting boxes. It's a massive organizational concept where one executive authority, the materials manager, takes on the entire journey of the materials. We're talking everything from the exact second a company realizes, hey, we need a part, through the planning, the buying, storing, moving it, all the way to customer delivery, the whole shebang. Usually we fall into this trap of only thinking about the sticker price, right? You buy a part for $10, so the cost is $10. Well, wrong. Actually, scratch that. It's more like incomplete. Materials management goes way deeper. It shifts the focus to the cost in materials. This is that hidden iceberg of carrying costs, the logistics, the storage, processing. Controlling this cost in rather than just the basic acquisition cost of, that's where the real magic happens. Moving to number 2, the scope and objectives, the goals of the function. So, what does a materials manager actually do all day? Well, the objectives are incredibly wide-ranging. At the most basic level, the absolute top priority is maintaining a steady flow of materials so production literally never stops. Because an uninterrupted factory is a profitable factory, right? But the goals go way beyond that. They want to economize purchasing and slash those post-purchase costs we just talked about. They use highly scientific inventory control to reduce the working capital that a company just has sitting around tied up in stock. They aim to improve product quality by sourcing better components. And interestingly, on a macro level, conserving materials inside an enterprise actually helps conserve national resources. It's a win-win. When we look at the exact scope of materials management, we can view it from 3 distinct perspectives. First, it's a basic function of the firm, sitting right alongside finance, HR, or marketing. Second, and this is a really big one nowadays, the materials manager basically acts as a manager of outside manufacturing. Think about it. Companies outsource way more today than they ever used to. So the materials manager is responsible for all those outsourced parts, exactly the same way a production manager is responsible for parts made in-house. And third, they act as the ultimate controller of cost, tackling all those ordering, carrying, and logistics expenses. Number 3, why materials management matters. The financial impact. Okay, so the crucial point here is this. Through efficient materials management, reducing your materials cost by about 5% is almost always possible. And because materials make up such a massive chunk of total production costs, as we saw earlier, saving just 5% drastically swings the profitability of the entire company. And honestly, with skillful, imaginative management, you can often save way more than that. To actually hit those savings, a truly integrated materials management system zeroes in on 3 distinct cost categories. First, you have the materials cost themselves, so procuring the raw and finished goods. Second, capital costs. Now, this is primarily the interest that accrues on the capital tied up in inventory. Like, if your cash is just sitting in a warehouse in the form of extra steel, it's not earning you money, it's actively costing you. And third, overhead expenses. Things like transport, packaging, data processing. Influencing these 3 specific categories is exactly how a comprehensive supply system drives company profits up. But the impact isn't purely financial. This modern caselet from our sources perfectly illustrates how intelligent materials management plans promote real sustainability. Imagine a massive business campus. If every single department has its own delivery systems, you end up with cluttered loading docks, constant truck traffic, and a huge carbon footprint. It's a mess. But by consolidating service areas, reducing the number of loading docks, and just reevaluating truck routes, efficient materials management slashes energy use, cuts carbon emissions, and streamlines the whole operation. It is fantastic for the bottom line and for the environment.
Which brings us to number 4, integrating with other functions, the corporate nervous system.
Materials management operates a lot like a corporate nervous system. It simply cannot exist in a silo. To actually make an optimum contribution, it has to overcome what we might generously call departmental egoism and integrate fully across the entire board. For instance, it works closely with design to introduce market knowledge early on, so engineers don't accidentally design in super expensive, hard-to-source parts. It collaborates with production on scheduling and solving bottlenecks through subcontracts. It partners with sales to handle dispatching and ensure top-tier customer service. And of course, it constantly communicates with finance and accounting about inventory investment and those tricky make-or-buy analyses. Without this intense, constant communication, the whole system just falls apart.
And finally, number 5, summary and final takeaway, the big picture.
I want to put you directly in the driver's seat for a second here. Imagine yourself as a material manager for a major company. What are the functions you'd actually perform? You wouldn't just be buying things, right? You'd be planning, scheduling, coordinating with literally every other department. You'd be managing outside vendors, and you'd be obsessing over carrying costs to keep cash flowing. You would be a central architect of your company's competitive edge. And that brilliantly illustrates the core takeaways of our explainer today. Materials management is a dynamic, profit-driving engine. It oversees a staggering 50 to 60% of production costs. It shifts our focus from just the basic cost of materials to the total cost in materials. It aims to achieve this perfectly uninterrupted operational flow while simultaneously reducing tied-up capital. And it pulls all of this off by integrating fully with design, production, sales, and finance. It is way more than just a routine administrative function. It is a strategic powerhouse. So, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. We know that a 5% reduction in materials cost can absolutely transform a company's bottom line. So, if you look at your own operations or even just the businesses you study and invest in, how efficient is that supply system right now? How much capital is just needlessly locked up in a dusty warehouse? Understanding materials management really is the key to unlocking those hidden profits. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep analyzing, and I'll catch you next time.